Topping from the bottom is a phrase that you hear quite often in BDSM discussions, but what exactly is it, and are you guilty of doing it? Hey guys, it's Morgan with BDSM Relationships and Education. Thank you very much for checking out this video. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button below and turn on the notifications, and that way you'll know whenever I post a new video. And of course, my patrons are the ones who keep this channel going. YouTube will not allow me to run ads on pretty much any video ever again. So I want to say special thank you to all of my patrons. You guys are awesome. Anyways, let's talk about topping from the bottom, because again, like I said, it's a bit of a controversial thing. And it's one of those things that gets thrown around a lot. You hear it all the time, but it really refers to something very specific. But I think that kind of gets lost a lot of the time. So topping from the bottom, and I have like an actual written definition here. Topping from the bottom is manipulation by the sub and or bottom that involves trying to direct play in a way that is different than what was negotiated. Okay, so the key words there are manipulation and different than what's negotiated, right? So somebody giving feedback in a scene, for instance, is not topping from the bottom. So if I'm playing with somebody and they say, hey, my hands are falling asleep in this position, can we loosen the bondage or change positions? That is not topping from the bottom. That is giving me feedback. That is very, very important information that I, as a dominant and as a top, I need to know these things, because I could be causing harm to the bottom if I just leave them and ignore it. So feedback is awesome. Feedback is really important, and you should really try to keep open lines of communication, whether you're using direct language such as, hey, my hands are falling asleep, or if you're using safe words such as like, yellow, my hands are falling asleep, or whatever it is that you choose to do to indicate a problem. So feedback is fantastic. Now, topping from the bottom is if I am doing a scene with the bottom and we negotiated an impact play scene and nothing but impact play. And that's it, you know, some spanking, some canes, some floggers, impact. And then the bottom says to me, well, you know, I'm really bored of just getting hit. I think that we should do some foot worship now, because foot worship is an important part of any BDSM scene. If you were a real dominant, you would know how important foot worship is. So I don't mean to pick on the foot fetishists there. It was just an example. So, but it could be anything. It could be, you know, that we hadn't discussed using canes at all, and then they started saying, well, I mean, you're not much of a sadist if you're not using canes. But the key points there is that they are trying to direct the play and manipulate the play, and it's different than what we negotiated. If I have just negotiated impact play, that does not include foot worship. Foot worship is not impact play, unless maybe you're doing it wrong or right. I'm not sure there exactly. I might have a different version of foot worship than others. But anyways, generally it is not considered to be impact play. So I want to stress again, negotiation is not topping from the bottom. Negotiation is negotiating a scene or a relationship or whatever it is that you're negotiating, and it is a very important part of BDSM, and it is something that, you know, you should have practice in and that you should do always, because it's so important. That's how we decide what we're gonna do and how we're gonna go about things. So negotiation, not topping from the bottom. Asking for what you want in a scene or in a relationship is not topping from the bottom. That is simply asking to have your needs met. And, you know, meeting the needs of the bottom or the sub is just as important as meeting the needs of the dominant or the top, right? I mean, it's a give and take. We, dominants and submissives, tops and bottoms, complement each other, right? Because we're two sides of a coin, but it has to be that give and take. Everybody has to be satisfied. You know, maybe it won't necessarily be in one scene that everybody gets their satisfaction, but overall, it does need to kind of work out. So asking to have your needs met, absolutely not topping from the bottom. Giving feedback during a scene that, hey, my hands are going numb, or I have a leg cramp, or whatever it is, not topping from the bottom. It's simply giving feedback that is essential information so that the scene can run smoothly and nobody gets harmed. What is topping from the bottom is using manipulation to change the negotiated parameters of the scene or of the relationship or whatever. So the key, again, I'm gonna just keep repeating myself. The important parts there are manipulation and changing the negotiated dynamic. So unfortunately, of course, some dominants or tops will accuse subs or bottoms of topping from the bottom in order to manipulate them, right? So, I mean, it can go both ways. So I've seen it where people will accuse a submissive of topping from the bottom when they are simply asking to have their needs met. And that is just a shame because, you know, good negotiation skills in a submissive or a bottom is a wonderful thing, and it should be encouraged and not discouraged. And people need to be encouraged to ask to have their needs met and for what they want. Now, you can ask me, I won't necessarily give it to you, but, you know, that depends on the dynamic. But it's certainly not topping from the bottom. But I have seen it many times where, and you often get it with brand new tops or dominants who seem to think that it's my way or the highway, and it's a very one-sided relationship where the dominant gets all of their needs met. Topping from the bottom is generally associated with do-me type subs or submission fetishists, and quite often, again, brand new submissives or bottoms. So just like a brand new dominant seems to think that it should be their way or the highway, brand new submissives often think that dominants should be mind readers and negotiation isn't necessary, and then they're not getting what they want out of a scene, and they have to sort of figure out ways to sneak around and manipulate to get what they want, when really the answer is just to negotiate properly in the beginning. So I'm not saying that all new people are like that by any stretch. Most new people really, you know, are decent and know how to communicate, but occasionally it happens. And so the good news is that in those kind of cases, the new dominant or the new submissive that just has some sort of more fantasy ideas about BDSM, those problems can be fixed with just a little bit of education. So hopefully this video can help them. So to wrap things up, my best sort of comparison thing that I can think of about topping from the bottom is it's like having a backseat driver, right? They drive you crazy, and half the time you're like, well, if you know what to do so well, why don't you get up here and just drive? You know, it would be so much easier if you just came up here and drove yourself, because why am I even trying? Why am I bothering? God. So that is my comparison to vanilla life. Topping from the bottom is like being a really annoying backseat driver. So there you go. That is my opinion on it. Have you ever been accused of topping from the bottom? Have you accused somebody else of topping from the bottom? Does it fit my sort of more narrow description, or do you have a different definition of what topping from the bottom is? Just tell me your topping from the bottom stories. Leave comments below for me, because I love that we always have such a good discussion, and I'm going to be far more on top of the comments lately. I've just, life has gotten in the way for me recently, but I love that we've got such an amazing discussion going for so many of these videos. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.